Hi, what's going on YouTube? It's that time of year again, and it is Thanksgiving. This is one of my favorite times of the year, next to Christmas. Actually, Christmas is my first favorite holiday, but Thanksgiving is my next favorite because I love to cook. And today I am going to show you how I like to make my cornbread dressing. I am from down south. I love cornbread dressing. We don't eat stuffing. We don't use white bread like a lot of people do. It's straight up cornbread and vegetables and um, juices like for the turkey or from chicken broth. So today, first off, I'm going to show you how to make cornbread because, of course, it's the main thing to make cornbread dressing. Now, I'm actually going to just show you how to make the cornbread first because I'm going to make a day-old cornbread, which means first, see my daughter back there, first we're going to make the cornbread. I'm not going to make the dressing until tomorrow because I'm not going to cook the turkey until tomorrow. Right now, my turkey is in the fridge inside of a special brine that I made so I can make the turkey extra juicy and flavorful. So after I roast the turkey tomorrow, then I'm going to use some of the turkey juices inside of the cornbread dressing. But first, we're going to show you how to make cornbread. So you can use the directions on the back. Three main things you need: self-rising cornmeal, eggs, and oil. As you see right now, I already have the oil inside of the pan. We're going to turn this down before it burns. Yeah, we don't want it to burn. Yeah, that's the channel. Okay. And so, what we're going to do, let me take this off. I'm going to help with the ice, you know. You sit me cooking. It is hot already. Yep. And we don't want the alarm to go off. No. So hopefully you all can hear me. What I did, I had some leftover grease, leftover vegetable oil from when I fried chicken about a week ago. So I just used some of that since it already has, you know, quote unquote, the chicken flavor in it instead of using fresh oil. Yeah. So what I did, Nevaeh, was heat the chicken grease, and then we're going to pour that into the cornbread mixture, as you'll see here in a second. Okay, you can use this recipe. I forgot to also add that another ingredient, of course, is milk. Some people like to use water. Some people like to use whole milk. Some people like to use buttermilk. Buttermilk is the best, but I don't have that with me today. So we're going to just use plain old whole milk. First, we're going to use 2 cups of cornmeal. Just add it straight to the bowl. I don't really use the measurement exact to a T, so I'm not going to level it off with a knife or anything. Next, we're going to go by the package directions for this, and I also have the oven preheating at 450 degrees. Next, we're going to add 1 egg. Now, a lot of people like to whisk their egg and beat it before they add it. Me, on the other hand, I like to just go ahead and add it like this. This is the way I've been doing it for years, and it also saves on using, you know, an extra bowl. And then we're going to add 1/4 cup of milk. And excuse me, my phone is going off. Whoever that is will have to wait. Alright, hold on for a second. I want to call me in the middle of the video. Nobody important. Okay, so I'm just going to give this a light whisk. Now, the oil that we have, actually, add I'm sorry, I added 1/4 cup of oil. Duh, Kelly. I'm going to use 1 1/3 cup of milk. So that was a 4. I'll just go ahead and add a little bit less than 1 cup. I'm used to adding only 1 cup of milk, but today I'm trying to go by the package directions for everybody here, so it's kind of throwing me off guard. Sorry about that. Okay. And if you like, a spoon might be easier for you all to use than a whisk, but for me, this is okay. So we're just going to whisk this in here. And this is the texture that it looks like. Now, I might not even use all of the oil because this is already pretty, the texture is pretty loose already, so we might use some oil, all of it. So let's see here. Because this is actually more than 1/4 of oil, so I might use the extra for the next cornbread I'm going to be making. Alrighty. So we'll just twist this in. And this is the texture that you're looking for. You don't want to have, you don't want it too dry and you don't want it too soupy. But you can get the feel of it once you start stirring. But this is the texture that I'm looking for. Alright, now we're going to pour this cornbread into our skillet. And the preheating light has gone off, so that means it's time to put inside of the oven. And we're going to let this bake for about 25 minutes or so, give or take 20 to 25 minutes. And after that, I will show you the end result. Okay, here are the end results with the cornbread. Unfortunately, I didn't burn it inside of the oven, but I forgot that this eye was still on medium heat. So when I took it out, I put the pan right on here and it started cooking the bottom of it. But no worries, because all we have to do is dig around it. But here is the cornbread. I'm going to cut a little bit in the middle so you can see the texture. And this was cooked for exactly 25 minutes. So here's the texture that you're looking for. And it's hot, so sorry. But this is the texture you're looking for. It's not dry, not overcooked, and perfect. But don't do like I did and put it on the eye. Make sure that your eye has been turned off before you put it on the burner. Okay, so we're going to make one more pan of this, and then we're going to set it aside because tomorrow we're going to make the dressing. All right, happy Turkey Day. I am back, and we are going to get started on this dressing. I just made the turkey after cooking it for about 4 hours. So I reserved some of the drippings from the turkey, and we're going to use that in the dressing today, along with some of the chicken broth that I made. So right now we're going to put this up to medium high heat, about here. And we have, I'm going to start off with 2.5 tablespoons of butter. Gonna let that melt down, and then we're gonna add in the celery and onions. And I chopped up 2 whole onions and also 1 package of celery. So we're gonna saute that in this pan here just in a few minutes after the butter melts. As you can see here, I was very generous with the amount of celery and onions. I'd rather make more and not have to use all of it than to not have enough and then having to, re-chop everything. So we're going to let this cook on medium-high heat, tossing occasionally until everything wilts down. We just want to cook the main focus. The onions cook rather fast, but we want to make sure that the celery cooks down and gets soft enough so we won't have a crunchy dressing when we eat it. And about halfway through, I'm going to add in just a little salt and a little pepper, and also a little accent just to give it a little bit of flavor. Alright, we're just gonna, you see this has been cooking for about 5 minutes now, and you see the onions have started to wilt, and we're just trying to get these celery to also cook through. But I also like to season them, so I'm just going to add a couple of seasonings. If I can get it open with one hand. Just going to add just a little bit of black pepper. Usually I use sea salt, but I didn't have any today, so I'm just going to use just a little bit of this Morton salt. And also a little bit of accent. If you don't want to use this, you don't have to. It does contain MSG, so if you're looking for a product that does not contain MSG, then don't use this by any means. But we've been using this for over 20 years, so this is just something that I like to use as a flavor enhancement. And we're just going to toss this around and let this cook a little bit more until we get the celery cooked through, and we'll be back for the next step. Alrighty, this is cooked for approximately 18 minutes, and I tasted it, and the celery is nice and ready to go. It was a funny thing about this. When I was little, my mom used to have to make extra of this, like a big, a big supply of this, because I would actually eat this while she was putting most of it into the dressing. I would sit there with a bowl and just snack on this because, oh my gosh, it was just so good. Now we're about to add it to our cornbread. Alright, now to this next step. What I did was crumble up the 2 loaves of cornbread by hand. And one of the things I usually do each year is sift the cornbread. I sift it, get all of the chunks out, and it does take a lot of time, but it made for a really smooth and nice dressing. But this year I have my Ninja blender, so I crumbled it up as fine as I could, and then I put it in my Ninja blender, pulsed it a few times, and ground it up into the consistency that you see here. So this is the consistency I like to go for. If you like more texture, by all means go ahead and just crumble it up and leave it in chunks. Me, I love to do it like this. My family loves it when I do it like this. They didn't like sifting it when they made their own, but of course I like to take my time when I cook because I want to make sure that it tastes superior. And as you can see, I do everything by hand. I do use utensils when necessary, but for the most part, I'm Southern. I like to do everything by hand. I went ahead and make sure you thoroughly wash your hands. Make sure you sanitize before you just put your hands into any of this food. But now we are going to start adding in all of our ingredients except for our eggs, because we want to taste it before we add our eggs in. So first, we are going to add in some of this turkey drippings. I tried to scoop as much of the fat off of it and put it to a separate container, but of course I couldn't get all of it out. So we're just going to give this a little stir. and pour it in. I'm going to pour it in little by little until we get it to the right consistency. I'm sorry, I'm just messing up this camera. All right, don't be afraid to get messy. And as you can see, this is the texture right now. Moist, but still loose. Next, we're going to add in just a little bit of allspice. And I don't use exact measurements. I add, taste, and taste until I get it to the right taste that I am looking for. Next, we're going to add in a little poultry seasoning. And, of course, sage. Now, I do get heavy-handed with the sage because I love the taste and I love how it brings the flavor out into the dressing. So I am very handed on sage. Next, we're going to add in onion powder. A little bit of accent, not too much because you don't want it to overtake the flavor of the sage. And we're going to add in some black pepper. And now we're just going to mix this in. Now I forgot to show that I added just a little bit of the chicken broth. I'll add a little bit more. This is how it's looking. And now we're going to add in the celery and onion mixture. All right, to add in the celery and onion mixture, you might want to use your spoon for that because it could still be hot. I don't let mine cool all the way. I go ahead and add it in. Plus the chicken broth was already cold, so the dressing isn't as cold, as hot, adding those hot vegetables. And what I like to do when I am cooking dressing, I like to feel. So I can feel if it's enough moisture. I can feel if I need to add anything else to it. And I'm also squeezing it as I go. Just mixing and squeezing. Okay, I'm going to rinse my hands and then we're going to add a little bit of cream of chicken. Alright, so we have the cream of chicken in here. And we're just giving this a good stir. To make sure it's well mixed. And it is smelling very good in here. And then I'm going to add in a little bit of whole milk. Just a little at a time because you don't want to make it too soupy. But at the same time, you don't want to make it too dry. So I'm just going to stir this. This is one of my favorite things to make during the holidays, Christmas and Thanksgiving, is dressing. Oh yes. Now at this point, you can add in some chopped chicken. Sometimes if I'm making this throughout the year and it's just a random time I want to make it, like for Sunday dinner, I like to go and purchase a rotisserie chicken, a traditional rotisserie chicken that you can get from Walmart for about $5. Chop it up and put it in the dressing. Some people like to add sausage, but today we're just gonna make the plain dressing. Oh yeah. And a lot of times people like to add in the giblets. I sent the giblets actually to my mom's house because she is going to be making the gravy. I like making gravy, but hers is like thebomb.com. So I sent that to her house, and she's going to be making the gravy with those giblets. So we're not going to have it in here today, but that's all right. All right, now at this point, I just want to give it a little taste test. It's good. I can taste the onion, but as I said before, I am heavy on sage. Even though I do taste the sage, I want to add more. More. Okay. Let's go stir this in. All right. Once you add all your seasonings, add a little bit more, add more milk or anything to get it to your liking. You want to get it to about this consistency. Now, some people don't add enough liquid. They don't want it to look too runny, but when they cook it, it dries out faster as it sits through the day. I like to make mine about this consistency, as you can see. And now we're going to add in, after you've tasted it and make sure it tastes the way you want to add it, eat it. Then add in 2 large eggs that have been beaten or whisked. And we're gonna just put this in. And what this is gonna do is keep it intact. You don't want to add too many eggs because you don't want it to be hard or cake-like, but you want to add just enough to keep it somewhat intact, not falling apart. Like, you don't want it to be crummy. You want it to be creamy yet intact. So we're just going to stir that in there. And I'm going to be using a glass pan. You can see it. Using a glass pan. And I'm just going to spray it down. A lot of people like to freeze it down with a stick of butter. I am just going to use, I can't get it in the camera, some butter flavored cooking spray and spray this down. Now we're just going to add this into a preheated 350-degree oven for 45 minutes to an hour. And what the goal is that we want the outside surface of it to be tough to the touch. Not super hard, but firm. And the middle can still be slightly firm, but slightly soft. Because once you take it out, it's going to continue cooking. And you don't want to overcook it and end up having very hard and dry dressing. So we're going to cook this about 45 minutes to an hour. First, I'm going to bake it for the first 30 minutes uncovered, just to get it that crispiness on top. And then I'm going to cover it with foil. All right. This is our final result. It cooked for about 1 hour. So this is our final result. And let me show you the consistency. Once you take it out, it's going to keep on cooking. So if it still feels a little soft inside, don't worry, because it's still going to cook. As you can see what I said around the edges, you want it slightly crispy, just slightly. In the middle, still a little soft, and that's how we want it. I didn't even put it on the towel. And this is how it looks. Mind you, like I said, still going to be cooking. Okay, so this is the consistency you want. This is the texture that you want, that you're looking for. All right, I hope you enjoy. I hope you all have a wonderful Thanksgiving and many blessings to you all.